Pong has long been touted as the first video game ever, being released in 1972, 53 years ago. For many of you, that's just about double your age, but for the rest of you, that probably sounds like ancient history. I mean, I'm 21, and my first game was Pokemon Pearl, and that was released nearly 20 years ago. Now, what if I told you the original prominent first-person shooter came out about 30 years ago, and looked like this? Compare this to the most recent COD release, and it's clear to even a blind man that we've evolved 100-fold in just a short period of time. I guess that's the power of a near $30 billion industry. But then I thought, what better time than now, considering I haven't uploaded in a little while, to take a trip down memory card lane and just see how far the FPS genre has come. We'll take a look at the games that revolutionized the industry and led us to where we are today, all starting back in 1993 with DOOM. Stop. I know. This isn't the first FPS game ever released. And if I'm being honest, I'm not going to be able to cover everything in this video. So for you fucking nerds out there, before you head to the comments with your snarky, actually, Wolfenstein 3D came out a year earlier and was, shut up. Here's a list of the games that we're going to be covering. And here's a list of honorable mentions, and I'll let this just scroll for a second. But hey, I got to leave some ideas floating around for future videos. So subscribe, and maybe I'll have a video out soon about your favorite game. And let me know what other iconic games you believed influenced the genre in the comments below. Now let's get into it. If that hitbox looked off to you, it makes sense. Even the most experienced Overwatch player would be shocked. This game holds up in certain areas, but its age definitely shows. What it does well, though, it absolutely kills. The music, the atmosphere, even the jump scares, it's all just perfect. They even have barrel explosions. Barrel fucking explosions in 1993. But its flaws are definitely apparent. You're restricted to only horizontal movement. There's absolutely no map. It's just a whole lot of guess and check and backtracking. And for you seasick viewers, have fun being stuck in a perpetual state of bobbing. Despite its flaws, Doom really cemented itself as a genre-defining game and a perfect entry for dedicated fans of our next game, Quake. Instantly, you can tell that a few years have passed. You can look up, you can look down, and best of all, you can jump. But I will say, right-click to move forward by default is definitely not a good design choice. Quake seriously improves on Doom. The movement, the shooting, it all just feels a lot more fluid, and this game has been praised time after time as one of the best shooters of its era. Let's move away from the sci-fi fantasy shooters and move towards a new twist on the genre, a game that pioneered FPS with a controller, albeit in a really fucked up way in retrospect, GoldenEye. I want to preface this by saying that this game aged like a gallon of milk in an unplugged fridge, but it truly changed the industry. Most fans of the game cite the unique and replayable levels or the distinct gun sounds as its defining features, but I think the addition of feedback to shooting enemies or objects is heavily overlooked. Enemies will flinch when being shot. You can interact with the 3D environment, and you can see shots hitting walls and sparking odd contact, or shell cases falling out of the gun. And I think that's something that we take granted for in modern FPS, but adds a significantly deeper element of immersion and realism. Now, I mentioned that this game aged horribly, and that is entirely due to the aiming mechanic. You can't aim and move at the same time. I'll repeat that. In order to shoot an enemy, you have to stand still and aim, all due to the N64 single analog stick. But it wouldn't be long until Studio would find the perfect solution for this aiming catastrophe. After Halo's release, a new benchmark was set for FPS games on every front. From the games we've discussed so far, this is by far the biggest leap. We just discussed the issue with the controller. Well, watch this. One stick to move and one stick to aim. Fucking mind-blowing. Halo introduced players to a deep and immersive universe, with a compelling story, memorable characters, and extensive lore. This narrative depth helped elevate the game beyond just gameplay mechanics. The game featured large, open levels compared to many linear FPS games of the time. And this allowed for exploration, varied approaches to combat, and just encouraged the players to go out, have fun, and adopt different strategies when approaching different fights. While I believe Quake popularized online multiplayer, I think Halo really brought the multiplayer standard we have today to the mainstream. Not to mention the importance of split screen and LAN compatibilities, which gave us amazing tournament moments.
Oh my jumping double kill! Oh. No way, that's just happening!
That really does it for Halo. All around,
How are you gonna talk about Halo and not talk about the vehicles? The vehicles are the best goddamn part.
Yeah. How could I forget? I love the vehicles in this game. You got the Scorpion and the Warthog for the good guys, and the Ghost and the Banshee for the bad guys. I really can't express enough what a massive leap this game was for the genre. But for the sake of your peewee-ass attention spans, I'm gonna move on to 2004 with CS Source. Now, CS Source is not the first installation of Counter-Strike. That would be attributed to CS 1.6, which actually started out as a Half-Life mod created by just two guys. CS Source, however, was controversial. People from 1.6 just did not like it. They thought the movement was too floaty, the shooting didn't feel right, something was missing from the formula to make this game perfect. And a lot of pros at the time did not make the switch from 1.6 to Source, and flat out refused to play the new version. And it wouldn't be until CSGO that many 1.6 legends would finally make the jump to a new game. What differentiated this game from others on the list, though, was its community. The massive public lobbies, the vast plethora of modded servers that people could play on. The game had the social and competitive elements that players were craving. And Counter-Strike really held a dominance in the PC FPS space, probably up until the release of Valorant. And Valorant blended the winning formula of CSGO, the winning formula of another game released 13 years earlier, Team Fortress 2. TF2 was not just influential, it was a pioneer, the Lewis and Clark of FPS games. TF2 was the first game to successfully pull off the free-to-play, games-as-a-service, class-based shooter model. So much of this game was new and fresh material. The diverse cast of characters with their own unique abilities and playstyle meant the game had something for everyone. The game also had their own cartoonish style, with wacky emotes and a fun community with tons of servers filled with people just fucking around. But I did mention that it was free to play, and TF2 pioneered one thing that will haunt the video game consumer for generations to come: microtransactions. Now, I do think that TF2 does do microtransactions well, but not right. I don't know the perfect implementation of a system meant to suck every last dollar out of the customer's pocket. The addition of emotes, balanced weapons, and most importantly, hats. Holy shit, $18,000 for a fucking cosmetic? Everything about the game is lighthearted, fun, and fluid. People truly love the game, and it ushered in a new era of FPS. The only drawback is how restrained the classes feel nowadays. 9 options felt like a lot in 2007, but with games like Overwatch, Valorant, and most recently Marvel Rivals, having dozens of unique characters, TF2 just feels like it falls short. But fuck this stupid child-ass game. Let's check out where boys became men on the front lines. The maps where I grew my first pubes. Modern Warfare 2. At this point in the timeline, COD had already established itself as an industry staple. So what makes MW2 so special? Well, everything. It perfected a genre. The gameplay, the movement, the weapons, the maps, and most importantly, the campaign. It's been 15 years since the game's release, but anyone within the gaming community has likely seen the No Russian Mission. During a time when multiplayer was all people cared about, MW2 came out with a whiplash story, including sadness, betrayal, and just flat out over the top, sick as fuck action scenes. The audio design was also adrenaline pumping, which made it feel much more intense. I always felt like my speakers were about to fucking explode. The passion from the creators oozes through the screen, and I encourage you to give this game a spin and let me know where they could have improved. And by the way, there's nothing that needs fixing. However, the same does not apply for our next game, but don't be mistaken, this game was once upon a time a masterpiece and dominated the FPS industry. Let's talk about Overwatch. Now this is my shit. I've dumped over 1,000 hours of playtime into Overwatch and I am proud. I literally bought the game before buying a computer to play it on. The Overwatch design built on the foundation that TF2 created, but went one step further, creating characters with deep lore, personality, and creative abilities, really pioneering the hero shooter that recent games have continued building on. I think what made Overwatch was the characters. Every character has their own strengths, weaknesses, identity, and built the brand into what it is today. I'm sure that there are thousands of people who have never played a minute of Overwatch but still know this British time traveler, or this robot ninja, or genius space monkey. Both casual and competitive players had tons of content for them to explore and enjoy. You could easily dump hundreds of hours into this game and not get bored. Nowadays though, Overwatch carries a dark storm cloud over its head, but I still find myself returning to it as a guilty pleasure. But I will always hate this stupid rat in a fat mechanical circle. Speaking of circle, here comes a full circle moment, because the next game we are going to talk about is Doom. Well, we've made it. 20 years have passed and we're back to where we started. But it definitely looks different. Doom 2016 may not have been the most influential game to the FPS genre, but I felt it would be important for us to see the drastic evolution that only a single game series experienced in such a short span of time. Now, some of you might be wondering, you said Doom 2016, what about the 9 years after that? Well, if I'm being honest, I don't think there have been such groundbreaking games in the space in a while. We had some promising games come out, Cyberpunk, Redfall, Deathloop, but we've come so far in a short 3 decades, and I can't even fathom where FPS games will be in the next decade, and I hold out a lot of hope for the future of the industry. I definitely encourage you to go check out the games that were discussed in this video. There are hundreds of video essays and passionate stories about the success of these iconic games across YouTube. So yeah, go check out other videos, go check out my other videos, and thanks for watching.